Quicken Loans Arena live in Cleveland. Congressman Rob Wittman thus running for governor, trying to make Virginia great again. Now, you're the chairman of the Military Readiness Subcommittee.
Yes.
But you're term limited to that. So how does this work?
Sure. Well, the House Republicans have a rule for all of their subcommittee and committee chairmen, and that is you can only serve a total of 3 terms. So this is my second term. So the next time around at the end of this year, that'll be it. So I am term limited, which is a good thing. You know, some folks have talked about term limits for members. The interesting thing, John, is that in the last 4 election cycles in Congress, there are over 330 new members of Congress. This time around, it looks like there'll be 40-plus members that will voluntarily retire. There will be some that involuntarily retire based on the voters. But so you see there's been a large amount of turnover. So people that have talked about term limits for members, I think what we're seeing is the electorate is term limiting members. But the important thing about that is we see that with committee chairman and subcommittee chairman being term limited, that is 3 terms, many of those members, once they term out as chairman, are now deciding to retire. So you see many of the folks there that have been there for years have said, hey, I don't care to go back down to the bottom of the bench. I've served my time. I've done my leadership role, and now I'm going to move on. So we see a number of members this year that are significant subcommittee chairmen, especially on the appropriations subcommittees, folks like Jeff Miller, who's the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, retiring, and others. So it's actually a great mechanism to kind of move people through to make sure you have new faces, new ideas in the leadership. I like it. You know, some folks said, oh, you know, it's terrible. You should be able to continue to serve. I do like the idea of term limiting leaders because then you get fresh and new ideas in leadership. Things don't get stagnant. And remember that the committee and subcommittee chairmen are essentially the gatekeepers. They're the ones that allow bills to come through.
Right. No, you're right. Look, I'm very enthusiastic about your position on that because remember, before this was happening, you would get these committee chairmen that would build up this huge power base, and it's just counter to, I think, what the Founding Fathers said. We're with Congressman Rob Wittman. He is also running for governor in 2017. We think that's going to be a convention. Let's talk about that, Congressman. There was a deal made for the presidential primary on State Central that the 2017 state nominating process would be selected by convention. There's been some turnover on State Central. The primary people are telling me have the votes. Somebody in leadership in the Republican Party of Virginia said to me, well, it's going to be whatever Ed wants. Well, who died and left Ed, chairman of Virginia? What do you think will happen?
Well, the State Central Committee will meet again, I believe, to make a decision, and it's truly up to the State Central members. I mean, they'll have a debate about how the process should take place, how to make sure that we are having, I believe, an effective process. How do we make sure we engage as many Republicans as possible in that process? How do we make sure that it is indeed Republicans that are part of that selection process? I think all those things are extraordinarily important, and I do think the State Central will look at all those things and make the right decision. Obviously, contextually too, you have to keep in mind the vigorous debate that took place previously about a primary in 2016 and then making a decision for a convention in 2017. But it'll be their decision, which it should be. It should not be a decision by any of the candidates. This really is a process where the members of the State Central, Republicans in the state, need to be the decision makers, not the candidates.
So when somebody in leadership in the Republican Party of Virginia tells me, well, it's going to be whatever Ed wants, I mean, doesn't that give you, I reacted to the comment like, well, who the hell cares what Ed wants? Ed's a candidate. I mean, Ed has no status in nothing. He's just a private, actually, he's just a lobbyist. This is from Jimmy in Virginia Beach. She says, just a lame attempt at manipulating the process. So why should it be up to Ed? I mean, he's not even elected to anything.
Well, John, it shouldn't be a decision of any of the candidates. It shouldn't be under my influence. It shouldn't be under anybody else's influence as to how the party selects its candidates. We talk all the time about the importance of the grassroots. If our party is going to be strong, And when we win this election in 2016 and then go on to win in 2017, it won't be because of what the candidates direct or believe they should direct people to do. It'll be about what our grassroots supporters do. It'll be about how they direct what the party does. And I think that's the strength of our party, is that we have a very committed, hardworking grassroots. And they are the ones that should be in control of the party apparatus itself. They're the ones that should be directing what happens. The candidates should be there with the idea of serving those individuals, putting their ideas out there, asking for them to be selected as the candidate. But our party works best when we empower the grassroots of the party. So I believe in that sense that it should be up to the party grassroots, the leaders that have been elected by the grassroots on the state central committee, to say, we're going to make this decision. It shouldn't make any difference how I feel about it or how any of the candidates feel about it. It's got to be about what the grassroots of our party want to be done.
Well, at the end of the day, that's why you have conventions, you have state central, you have nominating process. It shouldn't be up to somebody running for office. You know, the other thing that bothers me about this Gillespie campaign, and I know it's way out, we don't want to get into it, but all they keep telling me is about how much money he's raised. I mean, I want to know what he's going to do for Virginia. I don't really care how much money he's raised. I mean, the guy's in the business. He's a lobbyist. He's a creature of K Street. He's an operative. He peddles influence. He's created nothing, created no jobs. And, like, because he's raised this money, that's like their claim to fame, as if the cash box they have entitles them to the nomination.
Well, John, I think if you look about how selection processes take place, I mean, you do need resources, but your money resources are not the only thing, I think, that are a measure of who you are as a candidate. You know, I would argue that it is your connections with people. It's what you've done. It's a record. I mean, I don't want to get into the 2017 election, but when I tell folks, I said, listen, for me, it's about, I've been in elected office at the local level for over 20 years, which is really, I think, where the rubber hits the road. A clear record of what's happened there, served in the General Assembly, served in Congress. So being able to view those things in elected office, having a clear record, I think that for people is important. They want to know, who are these people that are running? What are they about? What do they stand for? And to me, having a clear record, when you have to cast a really difficult vote, when you have to take a call from a president saying, I want you to vote one way, and you decide that you're going to vote another way because you know it's in the best interest of the folks you represent, I think those are the things that people want to understand about their candidates, decide, when did they make the tough decision? What did they stand for? How did they stand for it? Those are the connections I think that people want to have. And as I said, I don't want to get into the 2017 election, but I do know whether it's here today and what we're talking about with our candidates or what it is in any election cycle, people want to have that connection with their candidates, with what they know about the candidate, what they know they stand for, and where they have been, not just today, not where they say in words today, but what have they done with their actions through the days past, so people can see what's the true reflection of this person that we're being asked to vote for, that we're being asked to work for, that we're being asked to put into office, to place at the highest level of the public trust to do the work for the citizenry.
A lot of talk at this convention, Congressman, about jobs and jobs, being shipped overseas, and we've all been through that debate. What would Governor Wittman do in Virginia to inspire job creation in this state?
Well, John, there's a lot of opportunities for us, especially in the realm of technology. Virginia is perfectly suited with existing businesses, the things that they do, with our intellectual capital, our people, the things that they do, to get into some very exciting areas. One of the big areas that's beginning to open up is the area of autonomous systems. And people talk about those things. We talk about unmanned aerial vehicles, as they're termed, drones, and all the things that can go on with them as far as the air areas go, and what technology can bring. The same with underwater. The things that can be done underwater now through these autonomous systems. We talked today about driverless automobiles. Now, I never get a real comfortable sense about about driverless automobiles, but I do believe there are a lot of other applications for autonomous systems to do things that today are done by individuals. And folks say, well, Rob, if we have these autonomous systems, doesn't that displace human beings? It doesn't, John. What it does is actually require human beings to do the writing of the software, to do the manufacturing of those systems, to do all the higher level work instead of doing the menial work of let's say in a very routine way, moving things back and forth. You can do that with autonomous systems, whether they're in the air. I mean, you see companies like Amazon, now Walmart, saying, hey, we're going to do deliveries almost in real time with these autonomous systems. Virginia is in a perfect position to be able to take advantage of that. We see a lot of companies looking at Virginia to expand their businesses. We see universities there doing a much better job in making sure their education programs are matching where the jobs are. So, John, I think we've got a lot of potential in Virginia that's unrealized, and things that we need to be doing to look at where's technology going, how do we take advantage of that, and then how do we design an education system to make sure that our students, as they come out of high school or they come out of college, are ready for those jobs. And not every student needs to go to a 4-year university. I mean, I want every student to get post-secondary education, but in some instances, getting a certification or credential is a way for us to get those individuals into jobs and get them to a long-term success.
Also joining us is State Senator, Republican from Stafford County, and a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Bryce Reeves. Hey, Senator Reeves, good to have you on the air with Rob Wittman, your congressman.
Good to be with you. Yeah, it's good to be with you guys. And Rob, it's good to hear that you're holding down the fort in Cleveland.
Well, Bryce, it's great to be here. I tell you, lots of exciting things going on.
Now, I just got to ask this question. You both live in the same area, so I know that, Congressman, your Senator Reeves is congressman. Is Reeves your senator?
No, he's not. No. Unfortunately, the boundaries are a little bit separated. But I will say this: Bryce's reach is extensive, because I will tell you, I will see some of Bryce's signs during his campaign cycle down in Montrose. So he has a big reach. So even folks that may not live in his district are there supporting him.
His signs are everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, Rob,
go ahead, Bryce.
To be my congressman.
Yes.
And until the Democrats decide to redistrict and everything else, so Dave Bratt is my congressman, but we all try to cover down, regardless actually where we live. And, it's been a wonderful experience for me as a sitting senator to be able to work with Rob on a daily basis to take care of constituent services or the people we represent, especially our veterans when they have issues with the VA. And, that's a quick phone call, and our team works well together, and it's a blessing.
Well, we're all on the Virginia team, right, Bryce?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember when I first got to Virginia, one of the first things I did, Senator Reeves, is I went to Washington from Newport News, wherever I was, and met with the entire Virginia congressional delegation. And first time I met Rob Wittman, I sat down with him, and I'll never forget something he said. He said, I drive home every night, and so it keeps me grounded, because I get home and Catherine would be like, hey, you need to take out the trash. Or, hey, you didn't wash the dishes, for heaven's sake. Right. And he says it gives you a sense of reality.
Yes.
When your wife's mad at you because you didn't take the garbage out. I got to read one question here. Okay, this is from Peter in Virginia Beach. Says, Congressman Wittman, what is your plan to beat a very, very strong candidate in Ralph Northam? What's your plan?
Well, my plan is to be able to really highlight what the current administration has done. And obviously there's some things there we have deep concerns about, law and order being one of them, providing the restoration of voting rights for 206,000 felons without any individual consideration of each of their offenses. Or what we're seeing right now as this is unfolding is, we have folks that are still in prison for murder that have had their voting rights restored. So I want to make sure that we are indeed not doing the carte blanche sorts of things that this administration is doing. I believe that if somebody has served their time, paid their debts to society, they should be considered to have their voting rights restored, but not in mass like they've done. This is really an injustice, and it really is counter to the Constitution. And I know that the court case is up for that to be heard with the Virginia Supreme Court. Hopefully they will do the right thing and make sure that they overturn that. But I would be in a position to make sure we're standing strong to support our law enforcement officers and to make sure that we're doing thoughtful things there. Also, there's so many additional things that we can be doing to bring this economy back. I mean, we need to be making Virginia first again. Virginia had been first in economic development and job growth. You know, we're down now, I believe, at number 13. So we have lost our stature, lost the places where we need to be. So I would be very aggressive in what we do as a state to make sure, as I talked about earlier, to make sure that we are on the cutting edge of where the economy is going with technology, things like autonomous systems. We have great opportunities here. We have businesses that not only want to locate in Virginia, John, but that want to grow in Virginia, and we have to look at all of them. How do we get small businesses to start? How do we get businesses that are here to grow? I don't want them to grow elsewhere. I want them to grow right here in Virginia. So I think that those are things that we can do, and that we can do very, very effectively, more effectively than this administration has done.
Okay, Senator Reeves, what's the story now with this lawsuit on the restoration of rights? And if you're lieutenant governor, how would you handle this?
Well, let me just dog your back real quick and give Rob some kudos because, you know, nobody knows what Northam does like those who serve in the Senate. And I would tell people to look at his record the last 4 years. His biggest win, okay, is winning the Fitbit Challenge for steps. That's his claim to fame. He's done nothing as lieutenant governor.
Fitbit
nothing.
Challenge.
And so you know, you look at Rob Wittman, Congressman Wittman, and all the things he's done on the House Armed Services Committee to help shore up our defenses and those folks who wear the cloth of our country. And it's an easy contrast to show leadership and zero leadership. And so, you know, Rob is very eloquent in saying it. Maybe I'm a little more straightforward, but Ralph Northam's done nothing. And if we want a nothing leader, we already have one of those as governor. We don't need another one. I'm absolutely thrilled with the candidates that we have running for office in 2017. Our bench is strong, and if we continue to move forward like that, we're going to do great. Now, with regard to the restoration of rights for these felons, I was with Jimmy Massey yesterday talking a little bit. I was in Richmond. They had some preliminary stuff going yesterday. We feel very strongly that our arguments are sound, and we certainly feel that this Supreme Court, the Virginia Supreme Court, is going to find favor, and by hopefully the end of the day today, we'll have that worked out.
Yes. Yeah, no, the case is being heard today, I think, Bryce, but I think I agree with you. I think we have an extraordinarily strong case. I do think if you look at it just solely based on the merits of whether or not the governor followed the Constitution, I don't believe that it's been followed. I believe he has stepped outside of it. I believe that this truly is an issue where you all in the General Assembly who have brought the suit will win.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead, Senator.
No, I was just going to say last night I happened to be in a establishment where there were quite a few folks who had a run-in with the law. And as someone who used to be a police officer, and I've worked the streets for a number of years and worked undercover and done a lot of different things. You know, there's folks out there who've done that, and Rob's exactly right. You know, we are all for redemption. If you've done your time for doing that crime and, you know, rehabilitated and back into society, and that's the key. And we do that on a case-by-case basis so we don't have the screw-ups of folks out there with capiases and still looking for them, or they're still serving time for pretty heinous crimes. And, you know, these folks we were talking with yesterday are like, they don't want that to happen either. They don't want people. It's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. And you make a conscious decision sometimes when you go to violate the law or other people's rights by committing crimes against them. And, you know, it's worked well. And those folks have had their rights restored. A lot of them, I say the majority of them, have integrated back into society and done very, very well.
Okay, I've got a question here for Senator Reeves from Daryl in Henrico. He says, would you ask Senator Reeves, how is he going to beat Justin Fairfax? I guess he's assuming that Fairfax will be the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor, which I think he is also.
Well, there's a couple more folks I know from the Democrat side that are certainly weighing the options of jumping in. There's folks out there that talk it up, and very few of them that put it up. We have a record that shows that we stand for everyday Virginians and our men and women in uniform, and we've done the things, the heavy lifting, and we have a record. Justin Fairfax has no record. And I'm proud to stand on the record that we have, working everything from service dogs for our veterans to restoring reciprocity, not just restoring reciprocity last year, but expanding it to 50 states. Last thing we need is another wannabe. He ran against Mark Herring to be Attorney General. He lost miserably at that. Now he's going to throw his hat in the ring. He wants to be a career politician because he has high ambition. And I always worry about people who have high ambition and aren't focused on the things that matter most, and that's taking care of the people day to day. And to me, it's about service above self. It's about selfless sacrifice. I've worn the cloth of our country as a U.S. Army officer, airborne ranger. I've worn the cloth of a law enforcement officer. Let me tell you something, John. You want to know where people are? You got to meet them at the street and where they are. I don't think Mr. Fairfax understands that principle. I don't think he'll be a good lieutenant governor. He doesn't know how the legislature works. And that's how we're going to beat him. We're going to beat him on message. We're going to outwork him. And I think people will respond to that.
Well, I think he's going to be the nominee. That's my early prediction. I want to get back to Congressman Wittman running for governor, as I know you have to take off and get back to the delegation. So final thing here. You were telling me earlier about the fact that you've got to raise $10,000 a day when you're in Congress. Just in 90 seconds, that's all we have. I mean, $10,000 a day? How do you do that?
Well, you just have to be on the phone. Of course, it's an average. So there are some days, obviously, where you don't get there. That's what our goal is. That's what we need to raise overall, and that's combined both from the congressional side and then the dollars that we're needing to raise in the gubernatorial race. So it is a high standard. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of effort that has to be put into it on a lot of different fronts. So it's a Herculean task, and a lot of times people don't understand the magnitude of what we're looking at and the things that you have to do. But that is our goal. And it's a significant goal, and when you parse it down on a daily basis, and you look at who you've talked to, the things that you've done, it's pretty mind-boggling when you put that in context of all the other things that you have to do in addition to raising those dollars.
And take out the garbage.
That's right, and take out the garbage and feed the dogs.
Feed the dog and do whatever else
That's right.
Catherine tells you to do.
That's it.
All right, with Congressman Wittman, we're out of time. Thanks for coming,
John.
today,
Thank you.
Congressman.
Thanks for
so
having
much.
me. Bryce, thank you. Thanks for your service. Thanks for the great job you're doing there in the Senate.
Congressman.
All right, we're going to keep Senator Reeves on the line. Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. And Senator Reeves, looking at this convention, we're calling it America's Real Political Revolution. Donald Trump, top of the ticket. Senator, what do you make of the whole thing?
Well, first, I've got to correct you. I'm from Spotsylvania County. My business is in Stafford County, but we call it the Fredericksburg region.
Okay, you got it.
But John, you forecasted this a long time ago that Trump was going to win and what he was going to do. So I never tried to contradict your outlook. But what do I make of it? I think the people of America are tired, and they're frustrated, and they're scared, and they want real leadership. And, in the military, we adhered to an ethos. And as simple as it is, the word duty, honor, and country still means something to some of us. And for me, those are the values that need to be represented. I also talk often about having conviction, courage, and compassion, but you can't have any of that without faith. And I think what we are seeing now is Americans embracing leadership Because when you boil it down, it is about leadership and vision, a vision for America that is different from what this administration and the Democrats have. There has never been such a greater contrast between where we'd like to see America go in the future than between the two parties and the two leaders that are the nominees or potential nominee, with Clinton being that person. And so I think Americans are embracing a positive vision for America that Trump has, that his slogan is simple, finite, and correct. Make America great again.
That's going to be the bottom line. I've got a minute, just over a minute, Senator. How do you win this nomination for Lieutenant Governor?
It's simple, sweat equity, John. You know, we certainly did very well in our fundraising goals. Rob talked about how much he has to raise each day. We have a set pathway and a plan. You know, as an Army Ranger, when you plan missions where potentially people's lives are at stake, you become a detailed planner and you learn how to execute that mission precisely. And that's what we're doing. We're out crisscrossing the Commonwealth. We don't get a lot of sleep, but we certainly meet a lot of great people. And those great people that want to make America great again, that believe in American exceptionalism, understand where we are. You know, I'm a blue-collar kid from a blue-collar town, middle-class America. And, you know, my dad at 79 still drives a school bus today. And that's the shining example of the man that I hope to be, and I am, hopefully. And he's always just set that example in hard work and determination are how we're going to win this thing.
Senator, what's your website?
We have BryceReeves.com, RevitalizeVirginia.com, where we've set out some of our goals. We have some specific plans we'd like to do as Lieutenant Governor. I think that will help turn this thing around for us in the Commonwealth. You know, we've led on the gun issues, and I was honored to receive the Defender of Freedom Award from the NRA this last year for the work we've done there, and we'll continue to do those sort of things. So we're also on Twitter at ReevesVA. But I can't thank you enough, John, for reporting and from the convention and what you've done to help further the cause in Virginia.
Well, look, Senator, we appreciate your being with us, and I want to thank you also for being one of our convention sponsors here at the John Fredericks Show. Without your help, you know, we just can't make this stuff work and can't share it with our burgeoning audience around Virginia. Thank you so much. And Senator, good luck. We'll have you back on if you want to weigh in with any events during the week. Don't be a stranger.
Well, I won't, and no, it's my privilege and my pleasure, and I really appreciate it. To the listeners out there, John does a great job, and I'm just proud, looking forward to getting our delegation home and getting to work and getting a new president.
All right, Senator Bryce Reeves from the Fredericksburg region, Republican, also a candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you, Senator, so much.